Have you ever been pushed so far that the only option left is to fight back? At 36, I thought I was done with drama, but when my new in-laws abandoned my 12-year-old daughter on a remote island, they had no idea the storm they were about to unleash. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for what's right, then you know this choice is never easy. One day he was there helping with bath time and bedtime stories, and the next day he was gone, leaving only a hastily written note about needing to find himself. Harper would stand by the window for months afterward, watching for his car to pull into the driveway. I worked overtime as a graphic designer to keep us afloat, often sketching logos and layouts long after Harper had fallen asleep. We developed our own little rituals and inside jokes. Every Friday night was pizza and movie night on our worn but comfortable couch. Sunday mornings meant pancakes shaped like whatever Harper was obsessed with that week, from dinosaurs to rocket ships. He was apologetic, charming, and surprisingly good with Harper when they first met. He would bring her small gifts, not expensive ones but thoughtful ones, like a rock shaped like a heart he found during his morning run, or a book about a girl detective that reminded him of her. Jason proposed on a regular Tuesday evening, while helping Harper with her science homework. From the moment I met them at our engagement dinner, I sensed their reservation. Walter had built a successful investment firm from the ground up, and Margaret dedicated her life to maintaining their social status. Jason's sister Amanda was worse. His wife Eileen came from old money and made it clear she thought Jason had married beneath him. From the beginning, I noticed how differently Harper was treated compared to her cousins. When I brought these concerns to Jason, he would sigh and run his hand through his hair, a gesture I came to recognize as his way of avoiding conflict. Or worse, "You're being too sensitive. They don't mean anything by it." I saw how she tried harder and harder to gain their approval, only to be met with the same cool indifference. Jason was kind and loving with Harper, and I believed that eventually his family would see her the way he did. The way I did, as this incredible, thoughtful, creative child who deserved to be cherished. When Walter announced he was taking the entire family on a luxury cruise to celebrate his 60th birthday, I thought perhaps this was our chance. A week together, away from work and school and the usual routines, might help Harper finally be accepted as a true member of the family. "This will be good for all of us," Jason said as we packed our suitcases. "Dad is really making an effort here." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that this cruise would be the turning point in our family dynamic. Harper was ecstatic about the trip, her first real vacation. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and for once, I let myself hope that everything would work out perfectly. Looking back now, I should have known better. And I wanted so badly for Harper to have what I never did. A large family that loved and supported her unconditionally. "Do you think they'll like me better after this trip?" she asked, her voice small but determined. "They would be lucky to know you the way I do," I told her, smoothing her hair. What I didn't say was that my patience with the Walter family was wearing thin, and that this trip would be their last chance to treat my daughter with the respect and kindness she deserved. Rising like a gleaming white mountain from the dock, its 18 decks sparkled with lights and promise. Harper squeezed my hand as we boarded, her eyes wide with wonder at the crystal chandeliers and marble floors of the grand atrium. "Is this really where we're staying for a whole week?" she whispered, and the pure joy in her voice made me determined that nothing would spoil this for her. Our suite, however, was around the corner and down another hallway. The porter stopped at a door quite a distance from our suite. "And here is the room for the young lady," he said cheerfully. I frowned, looking at Jason, who shrugged. It was the smallest and least expensive room category on the ship, tucked away from the rest of the family, as if to emphasize Harper's outsider status. Meanwhile, I had glimpsed Lucas and Lily sharing a spacious balcony suite right next to their parents, as were Thomas and Zoe. "It's okay, Mom," Harper said, trailing her fingers along the narrow bed. At the mandatory safety drill, Walter gathered everyone together, handing out small gift bags. "A little something to start our adventure right," he announced with a broad smile. Harper opened her bag to find a plastic disposable camera and a ship map that was freely available at the guest services desk. Jason squeezed my shoulder when he saw my expression darken. "Dad probably just didn't know what she would like," he whispered. "Don't make a scene." Eventually, she stopped trying, pushing her food around her plate while the adults lavished attention on the other children. One night, after a particularly difficult dinner where Margaret had openly criticized Harper's table manners while praising Lily's natural grace, I found my daughter sitting alone on the balcony of our suite, staring out at the dark ocean. I sat beside her, pulling her close. "Then that's their loss, sweetheart." "But why?" she asked, her voice cracking. "What did I do wrong? He chose peace over justice every time. If anyone ever hurts you, I will protect you. I will stand up for you no matter who it is. That's my promise." The next morning at breakfast, Walter made an announcement that had everyone buzzing with excitement. "And I've arranged a special excursion just for the family. A private tour of some caves and hidden beaches that regular tourists never get to see." Harper turned to me, a genuine smile on her face for the first time in days. I nodded, relieved to see her enthusiasm return. This was exactly the kind of inclusive family activity I had been hoping for. Perhaps things were finally turning around. But they're trying. Tomorrow's excursion is for everyone, Harper included. That's progress, right? I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that Walter's grand gesture was a step toward accepting Harper as part of the family. "Just promise me one thing," I said to Jason. "Of course," he said, pulling me into a hug. "But you'll see. Everything will be fine." As I fell asleep that night, I found myself hoping he was right, while preparing for the possibility that he was wrong. I just had no idea how significant that turn would be. We gathered in the ship's atrium, everyone dressed in swimsuits and light cover-ups, tote bags filled with sunscreen, towels, and water bottles. "The tender boats will take us to shore," he explained, referring to the smaller vessels used when ships can't dock directly at a port. The cousins chattered excitedly about the adventure ahead. For once, Harper was included in their conversation, exchanging theories about what kind of fish they might see. My heart lightened, seeing her temporarily accepted into their circle. As we boarded the tender boat, however, Harper suddenly grew quiet, her face paling as the small vessel began to rock with the waves. "Mom," she whispered, "I don't feel good." I put my arm around her shoulders, feeling her body trembling slightly. "It's just a bit of motion sickness, honey. We'll be on land soon. Let's sit here for a few minutes until you feel better," I suggested, reaching into my bag for a bottle of water. "Just seasick," I explained. "She needs about 15 minutes to settle her stomach. Then we'll catch up." "I'll tell everyone to wait," he said, jogging over to where Walter was gesturing impatiently. After about 20 minutes, Jason returned, but to my surprise, he was alone. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. "They all went without us?" "It's not like that," Jason said quickly. "It was just bad timing. They've been planning this for months. Harper will feel better soon, right? We can take a taxi and meet them there." "Are you feeling well enough to go now?" I asked her. She nodded, determination replacing discomfort on her face. Our driver was friendly, pointing out local landmarks as we wound through the small town and up into the hills. There was no sign of the Walter family, no private tour group, just a handful of tourists browsing a gift shop. "Yes, ma'am. This is the cave entrance, the only one on this side of the island." I approached the ticket booth, showing the address Jason had given me. "I'm looking for a private tour group, the Walter Party." No one answered. With growing frustration, I sent text messages to all of them. "We're at the cave entrance. Where are you?" I continued calling and texting but received no response. An hour passed then too. The shade from the small awning where we sat retreated as the sun moved overhead, leaving us exposed to the increasingly intense heat. Harper's fair skin, despite the sunscreen I had applied earlier, began to redden. "Maybe we should go back to the ship," Harper suggested after 3 hours had passed, her voice resigned, her shoulders slumped in a way that broke my heart. This time, miraculously, he picked up. "Steph, where are you guys?" he asked, as if we were the ones who had disappeared. "We are exactly where you sent us," I said, unable to keep the edge from my voice. "There is no private tour here. We have been waiting for 3 hours in the heat." "Oh," he sounded genuinely confused. "There must have been a mix-up. We're at Blue Lagoon Beach now. The caves were amazing. You should have seen them." Harper is burned, dehydrated, and exhausted. We have been sitting in the sun for hours while you all enjoyed your private tour. How could you not even check to see if we found you?" There was a pause before he answered. "I thought you would figure it out and come back to the ship if you couldn't find us. Look, we'll be heading back soon. Just meet us at the dock in an hour." I stared at my phone in disbelief, then looked at Harper, who was watching me with knowing eyes. "They didn't want us there, did they?" she asked, her voice small but clear. A single tear slid down her cheek, leaving a trail through the dust that had settled on her skin. "This is not about you," I said fiercely. As we waited in line to board the tender back to the ship, I made a decision. This would be the last time the Walter family hurt my daughter. Whatever happened next, I would keep the promise I had made to her. The tender boat was nearly empty for the return journey to the cruise ship, as most passengers were still enjoying their time on the island. When we boarded the ship, I suggested we go straight to our suite to rest, but Harper shook her head. Walter and Margaret lounged under umbrellas with tropical drinks. The children splashed in the pool, showing off new snorkeling masks and colorful souvenirs. Is that why no one answered their phones for 3 hours? Jason had the decency to look uncomfortable. "These things happen," I repeated, the words tasting bitter. "My daughter has first-degree sunburn and dehydration, but these things happen?" His booming voice carried across the deck, drawing attention from nearby passengers. We approached the family group, and I watched their faces carefully. Instead, Margaret tut-tutted disapprovingly. "You should have worn a hat, Harper, and reapplied sunscreen." Amanda smiled with false sympathy. "You missed such an amazing tour. The caves had these incredible blue pools inside. Lucas, show them the pictures you took." Uncle Bruce said it was the best excursion he has ever been on. Harper stood silently, taking in the souvenirs, the photos, the easy camaraderie that had excluded her. An uncomfortable silence fell over the group. Walter cleared his throat. "There was no lie, young lady. We went exactly where I said we would." "Then why send us to a different place?" I asked. "A spur-of-the-moment private tour for 11 people that just happened to be available the moment you decided you didn't want to wait for Harper? Or you could have enjoyed the public cave and joined us later. We sent Jason to explain the situation, didn't we?" I looked at Jason, waiting for him to defend us, to acknowledge what had really happened. He shifted uncomfortably, then said, "It was just a misunderstanding, Steph. No one meant any harm." In that moment, something broke inside me. Eileen picked that moment to turn to Amanda, saying in a stage whisper, "I told you this would happen. Some people just can't handle themselves in unfamiliar situations." Amanda nodded, failing to hide a smirk. "Well, at least the rest of us had a wonderful time." Harper tugged at my hand, her eyes pleading to leave, but I stood firm. I stared at him, this man I had married, who was once again choosing the comfort of his family over the welfare of my child. "Move past this," I repeated. Like we're supposed to move past every slight, every exclusion, every cruel word directed at Harper? When does it end, Jason? He looked pained but said nothing. "It's okay, Mom. They don't have to like me. We can just stay away from them for the rest of the trip." This 12-year-old child was showing more maturity than an entire group of adults who should have known better. As we turned to leave, I overheard Amanda whisper to Eileen, "Finally. Maybe now she understands that the girl needs to know her place in this family." Harper froze, and I knew she had heard them too. She looked up at me, her sunburned face set in a solemn expression far too old for her years. "Yes," I said simply. "I will." As we walked away, Jason called after us, but I didn't turn around. The moment our suite door closed behind us, Harper collapsed onto the bed, the brave facade she had maintained in front of the Walter family crumbling away. Silent tears streamed down her sunburned cheeks as she curled into herself, making her seem smaller and younger than her 12 years. I sat beside her, gently applying aloe vera to her reddened skin. "You deserved better today. You deserve better every day." "I never did anything to them." "This is not about anything you did or didn't do," I assured her, smoothing her hair away from her forehead. "Some people are just incapable of seeing past their own prejudices and narrow worldview. They decided long ago that only blood relations count as real family." Harper looked up at me, her eyes red-rimmed but suddenly intense. And as I looked at my daughter, Exhausted and hurt by people who should have protected her, my resolve hardened. "First you need to rest," I said, helping her under the cool sheets. "Drink this water and try to sleep. The sunburn will feel better after you've had some rest." It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. An email confirmation for a private island tour, booked and paid for 3 months ago by Walter. I also photographed Harper as she slept, documenting her sunburn and the slight dehydration evident in her chapped lips. Step 3. Protect our future. I transferred half the money from our joint checking and savings accounts to my personal account that Jason couldn't access. It was money I had earned, and we would need it for the difficult days ahead. Step 4. Ensure accountability. I explained the situation briefly and inquired about a consultation regarding custodial rights and divorce proceedings. His response was almost immediate, offering a meeting the day after we returned home. Her color was better, though the sunburn still stood out starkly against her naturally fair skin. "How are you feeling?" I asked as she picked at a sandwich. I nodded, sitting beside her on the bed. "He's not coming with us," I said simply. There was no point shielding her from the truth. She had seen and understood more than any child should have to. Harper nodded, a mixture of sadness and relief crossing her face. "Are you getting divorced?" "Yes," I admitted. "I think I have to. I can't stay married to someone who won't stand up for you, who lets his family treat you this way." She was quiet for a moment, absorbing this. "What about the rest of them? Walter and everybody?" A small, determined smile crossed my face. I explained that I needed to speak with the ship's captain and asked if she wanted to come with me or rest more in the suite. To my surprise, she sat up straighter and said, "I want to come. I want to tell him what happened myself." We made our way to the bridge deck where I had requested a meeting through guest services. The captain, a distinguished man with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes, greeted us in a small conference room adjacent to the operational areas of the ship. He nodded, his expression growing serious as he took in Harper's sunburn. She explained about her seasickness, about being told to meet the family at a location where they never were, about waiting for hours in the sun without water or shelter, and about the family's reaction when we finally found them. Abandoning a minor child in a foreign port goes beyond a family disagreement. It raises significant safety and potentially legal concerns. "With your permission, I would like to speak with your husband and his family," he replied. "As captain, I am responsible for the safety and well-being of all passengers, and I take that responsibility very seriously." "I understand. I will speak with them at dinner tomorrow. Is there anything else you need before you disembark?" "You have my word," he said, shaking my hand firmly. As we turned to leave, he added, "Miss Reynolds, for what it's worth, you are doing the right thing. Some lines once crossed cannot be uncrossed." Back in our suite, Harper and I packed our belongings in silence. When everything was ready for our early departure, she climbed into bed and patted the space beside her. I lay down next to her, and she curled against me like she used to do when she was much younger. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. Harper was already up, standing by the balcony door, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink. She had always been an early riser, a trait that seemed particularly fitting today as we prepared to make our quiet escape. "All packed?" I asked, though I knew the answer. "They would have to find us first," I replied, checking my phone. No new messages from Jason, which surprised me. Either he had given up or was planning a different approach. We moved silently through the ship's corridors, our luggage rolling quietly behind us. The guest services desk was just opening as we approached to complete our early disembarkation paperwork. The young woman behind the counter processed our request efficiently, though her eyes widened slightly when she saw the note from the captain authorizing our departure. As we followed our escort through the crew areas of the ship, bypassing the main atrium where passengers would normally exit, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. We were almost free. Harper smiled at this small detail, the use of my surname rather than Walter's, a symbolic first step in our new beginning. By 9 a.m. we were at the airport. We arrived home by late afternoon, our small apartment welcoming us with familiar comfort. I ordered pizza, Harper's favorite, and we ate it on the couch while watching a movie, just like we used to do before Jason entered our lives. As evening approached, I checked my phone periodically, knowing that on the ship, the family would be dressing for the captain's formal dinner, unaware of the storm about to break over them. Harper noticed my distraction. Probably confusion at first, I said thoughtfully. Then Jason will panic when he can't find us. He'll check with guest services and learn that we left early this morning. The family will probably be relieved, thinking we've removed ourselves from the situation and they can enjoy the rest of their cruise in peace. Until dinner, Harper added, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. Until dinner, I agreed. Though we were not there to witness it, I could picture the scene as clearly as if I were. Amanda and Patrick, Bruce and Eileen, all polished and proper. The children in their miniature formal attire, looking like they had stepped out of a luxury lifestyle magazine. Jason would be quieter than usual, worried about our absence but unwilling to disrupt the family harmony by expressing it too openly. Conversations at nearby tables would quiet as passengers sensed something important was happening. Yes, sir, there is. It has been reported and documented that your family deliberately abandoned a minor child, Harper Reynolds, at port yesterday for several hours without supervision, water, or shelter. By now, other diners would be openly staring, whispering among themselves. Walter would attempt to interrupt, to control the narrative, but the captain would continue inexorably. In addition, the ship's doctor has documented first-degree sunburn and mild dehydration in the child. As captain, I am required to report this incident to the proper authorities at our next port of call. Margaret would clutch her pearls, literally or figuratively. Amanda and Eileen would exchange panicked glances, suddenly aware that their whispered comments had been overheard and reported. The children would look confused, especially Lucas, Lily, Thomas, and Zoe, who had been raised to believe their family was above reproach. Jason would sit in stunned silence, the full weight of his failure to protect Harper and stand by me finally sinking in. Furthermore, the captain would conclude, Miss Reynolds asked me to inform you, Mr. Jason Walter specifically, that she has contacted legal counsel regarding divorce proceedings and full custody of Harper. She has provided copies of all relevant documentation to our security office for safekeeping, until they can be transmitted to the appropriate authorities. My phone rang, pulling me from my vivid imagination. Jason's name flashed on the screen. I showed it to Harper, raising an eyebrow in question. How dare you? Jason's voice was tight with anger. Do you have any idea what you've done? My father may lose business connections over this. People he knows were in that dining room. The captain publicly humiliated my entire family. He continued as if I hadn't spoken. Over what? A misunderstanding about a tour. It was not a misunderstanding. I saw the email confirmation, Jason. The tour was booked for 12 people, including Harper. Your family deliberately sent us to the wrong location to exclude her. I don't believe you, I replied. But even if that's true, you still chose to go with them instead of staying with us. You still defended their behavior afterward. You still asked me to just get over it. Like you have asked me to get over every slight against Harper since the day we married. There is nothing to fix, Jason. I have seen who you really are, who your family really is. I made a promise to Harper that I would protect her from anyone who hurt her, and I intend to keep that promise. You can't just end our marriage like this, he protested. I already have, I said simply. Check your email. My lawyer will be in touch when you return. Harper looked at me with a mixture of sadness and pride. You really did it, she said softly. My phone began to light up with messages and calls from other members of the Walter family, a cascade of outrage and damage control attempts. They no longer had any power over us. 6 months can change everything. The divorce was finalized, and thanks to the evidence from the cruise, we settled on terms that ensured Harper's future was secure, with a college fund that would open any door she chose. I launched my own graphic design business, a dream I had put on hold, and to my surprise, it flourished. Harper was thriving in an arts-focused school, her confidence blooming now that she was free from the constant judgment of the Walters. Years passed, and our little family of 2 built a beautiful life, a future where Harper was loved for exactly who she was. That night, she hugged me tight. Share your story in the comments below. If our story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Share this video with someone who might need a reminder that it's okay to walk away and build the family you deserve. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the family we choose is the one that truly sets us free.